You gonna do it?
This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct.
Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another riveting episode of the Black Powder Podcast.
I say you made it sound villainous right there.
Well, you know, if this was a Star Wars universe, this definitely would be a Sith podcast because they were way cooler. They had way cooler characters and lightsabers.
Somebody had posted, was it yesterday or something like that on Facebook, and they said, hey, if I'm going to watch the Star Wars movies, which order do I watch them in? So I suggested start with Godfather 2 and completely ignore Star Wars.
That's a horror. No lie. If I need to fall asleep and I'm having one of those anxiety nights or whatever where I can't go to sleep, if I put on The Godfather, 15 minutes and I'm snoozing.
It's nice to know that. It's nice to know. No, it's nice to know that it's that type of thing. It just lulls you into comfort. Just these are my people, dude. All right, here's what I'm gonna try to tell you. You talk about the Godfather 1 or Godfather 2, and we don't mention 3. Here's the thing.
Any of them. Yeah.
No, I stress to everybody because Godfather 2 was actually better than Godfather 1. It just was. And so I tell everybody, if you've never watched it, which I don't know how you do that, but if you've never watched it, I tell people watch the second one first, and then it'll give you a very good understanding of the first one. It's like it's kind of like a prequel.
I got you.
But the way they do it, it's cinema magic, is what it is.
I tried. It's not for me. I'm Marcus Matthews, the only real libertarian. I'm joined tonight by my good friend Tub, the official Libertarian Florida man. That's my new moniker for you, by the way.
All right, there's two things wrong with that. One is you are not the only real libertarian. Also,
yes, I am.
Don't ever call me your friend again. All right.
Oh, well.
And also, there's a number of wrongs here. And just last night when you and I were talking, because we do talk, people listen, you're like a man of the people. You're not just some celebrity that checks in on a show. Like you are a man of the people. And last night, wasn't it last night we talked? Was it last night?
Yeah. Yes.
It was last night, and remember you said I bring the Northeast into it.
Right.
So, because I'm originally from Connecticut, so it makes sense. But I think you refer to all of us Yankees as loud and what was the other word you used?
I want to say obnoxious. Yeah.
Obnoxious. Yeah. And basically now I'm starting to question whether you're from Northeast or not. Now, we have far better things going on than the two of us tonight.
Well, I would say so. We're going to the state where I was born, Texas, and bringing in a guest that has been a libertarian of quite some substance since 1996 officially. He is an author, former executive director of the LNC. He is currently running for the chairman of the LNC. So without further ado, let's bring in our guest tonight.
Hey, hang on.
What?
Not yet. Let's officially announce that him being on here is not an endorsement of him. It's not for him or against him. And that our goal is to have all of the candidates that are running for LNC chair to be on this show. That we will give them all equal opportunity to come on and express why they should be running this magnificent party of ours.
Indeed. Thank you for the asterisk part, Tub. You know, I almost overlooked that. But without further ado.
We just talked about it how many minutes ago? We just discussed it.
Oh, you know, I enjoyed the 90s. So sometimes that short-term memory.
Okay. And now you're almost in your 90s.
Wow. Here we go. Let's just get to the guest. Wes Benedict. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you, Marcus, for having me on the show, and hello, Tub.
So, listen, you already been forewarned. You know the best. Listen, you have now voluntarily joined this mess of a show. All right, so we need not apologize or anything. Listen, you talked to us for a few minutes beforehand. You had your time to dip out, to be like, hey, you know what? Met him, talk to him. It's not going to be for me. Now you're in. All right, and
I'm here. You got me.
All right, and Marcus is here too. Sorry about that.
Wait.
So, go ahead, Marcus.
No, Wes. So we had a chance to meet at the California convention, and like I said, we're not endorsing anybody. I liked what you had to say, and I liked a lot of things that the other candidates had to say. So, with that being said, since you were in a room full of libertarians, can you introduce yourself to the people that may not necessarily be libertarians as to why you became one and what you've done within the party and how you've committed yourself to the party?
Sure. Yeah, I used to be an engineer with a normal job, and I used to argue with friends about politics a lot, just like some people have been known to do throughout the world. And I noticed after about, 10 years of doing that, often arguing with the same person or two, that it wasn't changing anything other than we would get mad at each other. Maybe sometimes we'd laugh. Maybe somebody'd win an argument here or there. But I as an engineer, I'm all about productivity and efficiency and getting something done. And I realized this is not doing anything. I want to change the world, and I haven't even changed my best friend's mind on one issue. So I decided I want to get involved politically. And I had been a Republican for a long time. I knew a lot about free markets, free trade. I was against welfare and things like that. But I also was disappointed quite often by Republicans who would say things like, read my lips, no new taxes, and then let taxes go up. Even Ronald Reagan, who was before my time, I didn't get to vote for him. I mean, I was around, but he increased the payroll taxes. And there's just one Republican after another letting me down. And I think I voted for Ross Perot, was at 92 or something. That's when I started becoming sort of an independent and a little bit more open-minded. And finally, when I really wanted to get active, I was like, let me just look at some stuff. And I stumbled upon a libertarian activist at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. I was there about to start working on an MBA and an engineering master's degree, and he gave me something called the world's smallest political quiz. And it tells you, are you a liberal, a conservative, a centrist, or a libertarian, or an authoritarian? And I scored pretty high in the libertarian zone. I wasn't a perfect libertarian, but I scored pretty high in that zone. And I believe it or not, websites and the internet was just getting big for a few years then. And I went and looked up the Libertarian Party online, read the platform. And I'm like, yeah, I like that. It's freedom and liberty on every issue across the board. There were some I had to stumble on, I'm like seeing all this stuff about immigration and anti-war. And I had to struggle with some of that, but that's how I got here. And I've been a very active for over 20 years now.
All right. Now, before we even get into this, I do need you to explain, because I was looking at some stuff you've done with your PAC. So if you could explain some of the things I saw that I think it was recently, that you covered the filing fees for a number of candidates.
Yeah. Over the years, I've found that if you ask someone to run for office, sometimes they will, but they have problems with, there's paperwork. How do you fill that out? How do you do your campaign finance reports? And of course, raising money is always an issue. Now, some places, if you're running for a very small office, it doesn't take much money. Maybe there's no filing fee or whatever. But in some cases, like in Texas, we were doing so well, they passed some new laws and said, hey, you can't just run for office unless you pay $3,750 to get on the ballot. And that really made us mad here in Texas. But we were like, you know what? We're gonna deal with it. Of course, first we tried suing them, and that worked for like 1 year. And then we said, we're just gonna not pay it and see what happens. And that ended up in court, and we got away with it. The next time they did kick us off. It's like, okay, they finally figured out how to enforce their own law and kick us off the ballot. So now for statewide races, it's about $3,750. And the booster PAC, the Libertarian Booster PAC, helps raise money for some of the candidates. Now, we don't do it for every random candidate around the country. I just kind of focus on one state at a time. And I've worked in Texas a lot, but I have also helped other states.
Is Florida in the mix of those states? Because I'm in Florida. I just want to throw that out there. All right.
I've reached out to Florida a couple times, and we just haven't come up with a plan that works for Florida. But it's a possibility in the future, and I would be happy to help Florida. But no, the states I have helped are Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Virginia, Pennsylvania, a whole lot. And it seems like there's another one or two out there that I've helped some.
I'm trying to figure out how you started in Texas. You started moving directly to Florida. You got to Florida. You basically got to the state line of Florida and jumped to Pennsylvania. Like,
well, that makes perfect sense to me. Because why would you want to engage anybody in Florida? There's so many headlines about this Florida man.
I'm not even.
Well, you know what? Florida's doing pretty well without my help. That's one reason. Y'all have had a pretty good state party, been pretty active, and had a bunch of candidates. Maybe not all the time, a lot of candidates, but you've had candidates here and there. And so, maybe you don't need my help, but I have been able to help take medium performance states and bring them to a new level by getting more people to run and getting them elected. So, I'm open to helping Florida. And I actually like Florida. I mean, I grew up in Louisiana. We used to go to Florida anytime we could get away with it.
and so I listen. Just let it be known, because I'm actually I'm a candidate now running for city council here. I'm in Jacksonville. Just so I am the official representative of Florida. So if you need anything, you let me know. All right.
I will do that. Okay. And I'll just say when the booster PAC is helping candidates, we try and focus on helping a lot of candidates in one state at a time, because the campaign finance laws and the other election laws, how do you get on the ballot and all of that, are different in every state. And it takes a significant amount of time to learn it. But that's what I do is I learn the rules, learn the procedures, and then I don't just help one person. I want to help like 20 or 30 candidates so we get a big bang for that buck.
Yeah, I think because if you can get an area active and moving, that will gain far more attention than a one-off here in Florida and a one-off in Michigan. It'll actually gain some traction inside of that area. So it makes sense, really.
Yeah, and let's say you're running for state representative in Florida. Well, the issues vary a little bit depending on where you are in the state, but there's a lot of stuff that applies to every candidate. So when I'm helping with campaign talking points or issues, that's something where I can help 30 candidates for state representative much more easily than helping you for city council, that guy for Congress, and that guy in California for governor. Yeah.
Okay.
So you did very well in Pennsylvania last election cycle, because Pennsylvania put a crap ton of libertarians in office. They were local offices mostly, but that's what was very impressive to me. I said Pennsylvania may have surpassed New Hampshire as far as the libertarian focus is concerned. Quick shout out to my guy Free, also a Florida man, also a reason why I could see you would not want to cross over the state line.
Florida. He does kind of ruin it for us. Free.
He does ruin it for a lot of people, and that's
listen,
just in general.
If you're ruining Florida, man, you're pretty bad. Let's be very clear about this.
Well,
I have heard a lot of sketchy things about Florida, so I like to go, but I'm always careful. I'm always very careful when I go to Florida, or even talk to somebody from Florida. I'm careful.
I don't blame you one iota.
Anymore, and your parents don't have to force you to come to Florida. You feel free to just ease on into it as you need to.
We would sneak over there first. We would sneak over there. Actually, I wasn't sneaking. I would let my parents know. We would run over there for spring break and just make a big mess and then get out of town before we got caught. So that's what I think of when I think of Florida is spring break.
He came over the state line, threw out bottles out of his car, and took off back home again.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. So, Marcus, you have anything you want to cover before we get into LSE stuff?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the book because you had mentioned his book in the pregame, and I, in doing my research, I was like trying to find stuff about you, and your book came up on Amazon, and it very interesting title. Can you talk a little bit about why you wrote that and your book in itself?
Sure. There's a lot of writing out there about libertarian policies or freedom. So, and this is from economists and historians and current people as well. They talk about policies like, I don't know, low taxes, free markets, voluntarism, the non-aggression principle, whatever. Those are all philosophical things about the issues or policies, but there hasn't been a lot, or there wasn't much out there about the Libertarian Party itself. So people think of libertarianism and all those issues and policies and the Federal Reserve or whatever, but they don't know much about the Libertarian Party. And you can go to the party's website or talk to someone here or there, or there's a brochure, but there wasn't really a lot saying, here's how the Libertarian Party works. Here's how political parties work in general. Here's what the challenges are if it's not a Republican or Democrat, third parties, smaller parties. What are the unique issues, the unique challenges to get on the ballot or to raise funds? And how do we make a difference? So I wanted to put all of that in a book so that people could learn about the Libertarian the Libertarian Party. And I just had a few pages about the policies in there. So, things like why run for office, whether you win or lose, what difference does it make if you run for office? How to volunteer, how to make a difference, how do we nominate candidates to run for office? How do you get in control of a county or a state party affiliate? So the book, Introduction to the Libertarian Party, is just that. And it really filled a niche and a need there. And like I said, I was looking for one just that I could read myself or share with someone, and it didn't exist. There wasn't anything even close to that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna have to write it myself. And I had served as a state executive director for 4 years here in Texas. And then I had served at the national level as the national executive director full time in the Washington, D.C. area for over 2 years. So I was also the most qualified person, I think, to write that book. And it's a short read. It's just over 100 pages. If you're on an airplane in an hour and a half or two, you can probably get through it. And people besides myself have told me it doesn't suck. I know a lot of books.
And if those are libertarians, that is a high recommendation.
I know. A lot of books suck, but I've even read it myself after years, and I'm like, I did a pretty good job on that. That's some real good points in there. Yeah. I've read it like every year I read about 2 books, and usually I read mine as one of them. So
now, before we get into what you're currently doing, I just wanted to go back to your motivation as far as joining the Libertarian Party. It sounds like it was a natural aspiration. There wasn't a specific person, like we get a lot of younger libertarians on here, like myself, the youngest one probably on this.
You're older than me that we know of.
Excuse me, Tup. This is my segment here.
Fine,
like the younger libertarians like me, they'll point to Ron Paul. They volunteer, they do all kinds of stuff. There wasn't a person that resonated with you, or was it just like you saw, and this is more like the libertarian I am, I just couldn't do it anymore with the BS of the duopoly, because I saw it at a very young age. Like, these people are not telling us the truth, and they're doing it for all the wrong reasons. So there was nobody in particular, or like I said, was it a natural aspiration towards the Libertarian Party?
It was mostly me being so convinced that freedom works and there should be like very little government or no government. And it just, whatever I would read out there would make me think that. But I wasn't reading like libertarian policy books. They didn't exist. I was reading things like the newspaper or U.S. News and World Report or Forbes magazine, or remember a magazine? Some of your readers don't know what a magazine is. It's like a glossy thing with a bunch of articles and pictures in it. It's usually colored. So I was just convinced that we need little or no government. And why doesn't everybody say that? I'm just mad at the world for not agreeing with me. And there were some hints here and there from people that helped me get to libertarianism. I remember Rush Limbaugh. I think he was a Florida man. Maybe he was in New York first. So I didn't listen to his radio show much, but I got his newsletter. You could actually pay money and they would mail you a newsletter. And I remember an interview he did with Milton Friedman. And I knew Milton Friedman was all about free markets and liberty. I wasn't an expert on it or whatever, but I was just like, Milton Friedman, good guy, free markets. I like that. And Rush Limbaugh in there asked the question. He said something like, well, Milton, you're a conservative, and so why do you think this, this, and this? And Milton Friedman said, well, actually, I'm not a conservative. I'm a libertarian. And then he went on and said some stuff. I don't remember what else he said, but that was like the first time I heard the word libertarian other than like civil libertarian. It's the first time I heard the word by itself. And it did kind of stick in the back of my mind, but I didn't even go investigate it at all at that point. It's just a word I finally heard and it stuck in my head. And there, some people have been arrested for drugs, or the IRS audited them, or they were abused somehow or something, and that pushed them into the libertarian quadrant. Nothing really happened to me. It was all the issues. I'm a libertarian on all the issues. I wasn't so strong on civil liberties though, but I was just there on all the issues, and reading the platform, it's kind of like, yes, this is it. Freedom on everything. And no, we don't need to raise taxes. No, we don't need to regulate that. We don't have to put labeling on food. We don't have to do all these things that Republicans even come up with, much less all the stuff Democrats come up with. So that's how I got there.
And it becomes difficult because you look at it, you go, this seems so simple. Like this, why would everybody not just want this? And it's so funny because I tell people all the time, like, well, we have people around here that like, Tub, I'm really just basically a libertarian myself. I hear that all the time as they still do all Republican stuff. And I tell people, listen, everybody's a libertarian until it's time to vote. Like, so many people love what we do because they believe that their party is going to actually do what they say they're going to do. Because in reality, there's so much of what we believe as libertarians. It's just saying, hey, we're going to do the things that your party used to promise, that they used to care about.
Exactly. And now there were some things when I first found out about the Libertarian Party that I wasn't on board with yet. But I was curious because I had always been a real Republican, a real conservative, and I was pro-war. If we were starting a war or getting involved in one, I was like, yay, we need to, there are a lot of dumb people around the world. We need to go kick some butt. That was my mentality. I was definitely anti-immigration. I wasn't like, I didn't hate immigrants or whatever, but I just like, it had been drilled into my head. I'm a Republican. I'm against I'm against immigration. They use welfare and all this stuff. And I was also good with, the surveillance society, civil liberties. I didn't quite understand civil liberties. The police. Now, I didn't like it when police were spying on me. If I was drinking a beer or my friends were doing some illegal activity, obviously, I'm like, okay, I don't want them catching me or my friends, but why shouldn't the police be spying on everyone? But it's because I met libertarians that explained a lot of this stuff to me. See, I couldn't hear any of the explanations from Democrats. I hated Democrats. I was a Republican. I hated Democrats. So I wasn't open to anything they had to say. But when I met libertarians who were for low taxes, free markets, free trade, and they explained to me, hey, these wars, maybe they don't all have to happen, and they have a lot of downsides, and they cost a lot of money, and they create enemies and cause people to want to, blow back. They want to be terrorists because we make them so mad. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. That kind of makes sense. And when people said, hey, if you give the police too much power or the government too much power to spy on you and arrest you, that's what happened in Germany. That's how Nazism happens. That's what authoritarian countries do. And you give them the power to keep you safe. That also gives them the power to abuse it. And it can be Republicans in charge. It can be Democrats in charge. They can come after you. So I did change my mind on a lot of issues, thanks to knowledgeable libertarians who explained them to me once I had an open mind.
And it's that open mind thing part right there. And that's what keeps so many people in their camps, so entrenched in their camps, because in their minds, I have it right. There's no reason to listen about anything else. And I think that's how we ended up where we are. And I think that's even why we have a level of the Libertarian Party struggles, like we struggle. And because it's hard to get people out of their camps in all reality, which actually, so here's what happens. As the Libertarian Party struggles, this is a great segue for us to get into, hey, you want to run this crazy Libertarian Party. So that's crazy in itself. Now, I'll let Marcus go first because I got like 30. No, I don't have 30. But I have a number of questions that can actually just be shorter answers if you want. But I'll let Marcus start it.
I'll give some quick answers. I'll give shorter answers going forward. So go ahead.
No, we're good. I just so what I want to do is I want to make sure we get all the stuff in. All right, go ahead, Marcus.
I have my first question is only one word, and it's why.
Look, right there. Right. You can't see that, but there, it's right there. In fact, mine is why now? Why now?
Yeah.
Yep.
I've spent over 2 decades trying to build the Libertarian Party, and I've been quite successful wherever I have focused. A lot of other people have put a lot of time and money into the Libertarian Party, and our issues are good for the people. They're good for the world. It's important. Republicans and Democrats, I see them destroying our world. And so when I see that I think I can make a difference and I can help make the Libertarian Party more effective, I just feel like I'm letting the world down and letting myself down if I don't step in and help out. And I was national executive director for over 8 years. I've got more experience in that position than anyone else. That was my full-time job. That's what it means. And, we had up to 14 people working on our staff, and we're quite successful. And there's just been some things happening lately. Some of it's just operationally, how the party's run, some messaging things, some other decisions that I think have just one after another little thing is just degraded, and it can be fixed back. And so it's important. I care about it. Other people care about it. That's why I want to run for chair. I think I'm the best person to help turn it around. Hopefully we get it fixed in a year or two, and then someone else can take it from there.
Word. Tub.
Oh, all right. So let's start with this. What is your highest priority? Now, I'm not saying what's the thing that you want to fix them. Like, I know you got to get in and fix, but let's say you're able to get in and you crush it. In 2 weeks, you fix the things you wanted to fix. Because if you don't do it in 2 weeks, we're kicking out. So in 2 weeks, what would be your highest priority of saying, okay, as a party, here's what we want to do, and this needs to be our direction? What would that be?
The number one thing that makes a big difference is having a lot of candidates. And some people agree with this, some people don't agree with it. I think if you look at the data, if you just step back and look at the data from various state parties and even at the national party, the more candidates they have running, the better everything goes. The more press they get, the more volunteers they have, the more money the party raises, and of course, the more money the candidates raise and spend. And I've always been able to get a lot of candidates to run just by simply calling and asking them to run and then helping them through some of the procedures to get it done. There is a counter idea that I've had, and every single person in the world has also had, and that is, why don't we, instead of having a lot of candidates, just focus on 2 or 3 and get them elected? And from my experience, what you do is have, instead of 800 candidates where 15% get elected, you end up with like 8 candidates where 15% get elected, which is like 1. And everyone else gets in the habit of voting Republican and Democrat year after year after year, instead of voting Libertarian if there's no Libertarian on the ballot. And so, yeah, if everything else about the party's going well, my number one thing is run a lot of candidates. And we need to help you, of course, to run a strong campaign, run the strongest one you can. That's the number one thing.
All right.
Tub, real quick, we have our first question in the comments. And it's from, who is this guy?
Joe spelled Tub wrong. He spelled Tub wrong. He said, who is your favorite candidate? Why is it? He meant to say Tub, but he said Joe anyway.
Yeah, Joe Hanush are one of the off-screen members of the Black Powder Podcast, our guest coordinator. Thank you so much, Joe, for all your help. Question for Wes. Who is your favorite candidate and why is it Joe Hanush?
Well, I have a lot of favorite candidates, but Joe Hanush is one of them, and he's done a great job. He's run many times over the years. Now, he's from Florida, if I understand correctly, so everybody should watch out for that.
Exactly. That's the first thing you need to do.
He steps.
His first thing you do is get him out of Florida.
So he steps up to the plate. He runs. I think he served on some commission or something. That probably drove him nuts, or maybe a neighborhood group or whatever. So he's one of my favorite candidates out there, Joe Hanush.
Well, wait till you see our candidate that we have on next week. I don't know if he's going to be.
Don't even tune in. It's not worth it. Trust me. You don't want anything to do with that guy. I don't know how I'm stuck on the show every week, and then I became a guest that week. So here's the thing. So I would agree with you, especially in the fact that candidates, we are a political party. And a political party ought to be focused on candidates. And now bear with me here for a second. I'm going to do a Marcus thing right here.
Oh, wow.
So inside is, so at I think it was actually, you guys had a little debate, didn't you, in California? And it was there when they asked you about whether you run a presidential candidate, whether we should run one. It was kind of along those lines. And here's the way I see this. So the first time I spoke to a room full of libertarians, I remember I was a candidate, and they give you 7 minutes, go up there and, hey, raise some money type of thing. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that. So I got up there. The very first thing I said was, libertarians have the best message and the worst messengers. And I took the next 16, I was supposed to have 7 minutes, so I took the next 16 minutes explaining how we fail miserably at this. And so since then, I've been suggesting that what we need for our presidential and vice presidential candidates should be amazing messengers. Like, that's it. Listen, I don't pretend like, hey, we get the right guy, we're going to win. No, we're not. Let's just be honest about it. So we should take advantage of that platform that we have, get a couple good messengers, people that can go out and effectively relay the word of liberty, that we could bring new people in. And while doing that, stressing all those lower offices. Like, our goal as sending out a presidential, vice presidential candidate should be, okay, this is great. This is who we are. This is what we believe. Here's who's running in your area. And then everywhere those two candidates run around the country, they should be drawing in the local candidates within 50 or 100 miles to that event. Because in reality, use those two positions to say, here's who we are. Because we failed miserably. I often refer to the Libertarian Party as the 52-year-old guy who's still sleeping on a friend's couch. And so, and just real quick, today, just today, I was getting my hair cut, and the lady who cuts the hair next to me, she's an older lady, and the lady who cuts my hair, she knows that I'm a libertarian and stuff, and she's hardcore Republican, but she understands a lot of libertarian thinking, because that's what they do. And the lady right there next to me says, she goes, oh yeah, she goes, I think I voted for you last time because I remembered the name. And I said, yeah, it's libertarian. And she goes, what's that? And that's a problem. And I looked at her, and I'm supposed to be getting my hair cut as I'm looking away. And I go, we are the third largest political party in the country. And people don't know that. So we failed. We failed. So what would you suggest is the way that, once again, we get the message out there and then we start actually letting people know that we exist, and it might not be what they've thought of us in the past? How would you attack that?
Well, my background is as an engineer, and so I would keep in mind things like statistics and data. And one lady told you a story in Florida, okay? You might be able to do some research that gives you an answer of, does the party have more name recognition where there are a lot of candidates running for office? Or does it have more name recognition where some guy thought he was a good spokesman for president and there's no other candidates in that state? I guarantee you in Texas, they know about libertarians. Not everyone in Texas does, but a whole lot of people know that libertarians exist because we've had a lot of candidates up and down the ballot for many, many years. And it is good to have a great spokesman. So if someone's going to run for president, the number one thing is they should be a great spokesman for the party. That is definitely true. The marketing that they do. But also remember, a lot of people, especially young people, but really 80% of the country, they're not interested in any other office other than president and maybe what the whole Congress does. A lot of activists can't even tell you who their state representative is. Most don't even know what a county commissioner is, and they kind of know what the city council is, and they might know who the mayor is, but they don't know about any of those candidates you're talking about. So if you go to a college and there's all these young folks and they're politically active, and maybe they heard of Ron Paul or something, or who knows what, maybe they heard of Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump and Biden and Kamala Harris. And if you ask them, well, would you like to go work on the Justice of the Peace candidates campaign, they'll just kind of like, what? They'll just kind of fade away. And I think if you try that some, you'll find that's the case, and that's the data and the feedback you'll get back. Another good thing, look, I know the Libertarian Party's made a lot of mistakes. I've made plenty of them myself, and there's all kinds of weaknesses and things that can be improved. But have you ever heard of the Republican and Democratic parties and seen some of their candidates and some of what they do? Have you seen what they say about their own parties and what they say about the other party? I mean, every time I hear a complaint about a libertarian, it's like, that's after you read about 100 complaints about Trump and Biden and Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi. So being active in politics, it's a place, it's kind of a slugfest. It's a flame war online. It's a flame war even in person. And so you just have to get used to the negative stuff. I deal with it. I accept it. Our messaging is what it is. Our volunteers are who they are. What I do is take a lazy, worthless person who's got no idea what to do, and they just post nasty stuff on Facebook or send emails. And I tell them, hey, instead of just complaining, put your name on the ballot, run for Congress. You may literally be on live television and get to debate your congressman and tell him why he should have stopped those, why he should have stopped that war, why he should have stopped the COVID abuses, why he should have stopped spending so much money and putting us into debt. So, yeah, the Libertarian Party, it's not always been the best, but we have something to compare to Republicans and Democrats. We have been the most successful third party by pretty much every measure over decades and decades. You can go look at the Reform Party, the Green Party, the Constitution Party. I mean, Constitution Party, that sounds like the best marketing name ever in the world, right? And it's like a worthless party. So I'm going to take some credit. I will take blame. I was the national executive director for 8 years. I've been doing this for 20 years. I wish we had all done a better job. I wish I had done a better job. And I always welcome better people to stand up and do a better job, but I'm not seeing it now. That's why I'm running for chair, because I know I can get us better than we are today.
See, and this is, I want to get to Joe's comment here because this is very critical. Joe said we need libertarian media in the mainstream. And that's what this podcast is ultimately geared towards. It's getting too many times when you let your enemy define you, they're going to use a negative connotation to define you. And what libertarians need to get ahead of is us defining ourselves. That's why you have the Black Powder podcast. You have Are You Smarter Than a Politician? That show as well. But as far as a master class in libertarian debate, I have to point to one of our former hosts here, Michael White, when he debated his Democrat and Republican opponents in the Arkansas race. What was that, 2020? He eviscerated them. And, you know, there was some sadness behind that because I thought it was a winnable race. And the National Party, that was a candidate that we should have got behind. But with that being said, I think California, the state with the most libertarians, needs to be the next focus of the Libertarian Party. I don't know what's going on with my mic here.
It's still letting you talk. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But California,
that's the problem.
California needs to be the next state that the Libertarian Party needs to focus on because we have the largest delegation, as well as the fact that California is effectively a 30-30-30 state. We have a sizable population of independents that are sick and tired of Gavin Newsom. They hate Trump at the same time. They hate both parties. And we're not tapping into that anger here. And the state, unfortunately, is a trendsetter for a lot of stuff. California
used to be the state where we would get the highest percentages for Congress in a three-way race. So you're definitely onto something. There's a good libertarian streak in the minds of voters in California. And I'm talking about if you had a Republican, a Democrat, and a Libertarian on the ballot, the percentages were always, way high in California. Now, unfortunately, they did pass a law called Top 2 that made it so that libertarians had trouble advancing to the general election, but they still can run in that first primary. I think it's in May or so, I forget when it is, but that first round they can still run, and I encourage them to. And there's also some nonpartisan races in California, and libertarians have won quite a few of them over the years. It's not like I'm trying to think of how to explain this. It's like there's not like some undoable thing out there. It's all you got to do is one or two people just has to say, you know what? I'm going to recruit these candidates and help them fill out the paperwork. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And candidates will start doing it if you ask them to. Now, if too many people just go online and say, oh, we just can't win and we can't get anything done, then everyone's like, okay, yeah, we can't get anything done. And they all just kind of fade away and quit. It just takes one person. It can be the chairman. It can be some other leader in the party. It can just be some activist doing it. And, I've done it as the executive director, but also for several years, I was just running the Libertarian Booster PAC, and I was just reaching out to states and saying, hey, I'm going to recruit a whole bunch of candidates for you. How do you like that? You're going to stop me? And some of them will say, yeah, we don't want you. And others will be like, oh, cool. That's going to be great. And I just started recruit. I'm sitting here in Austin, Texas, and I'm recruiting candidates in Arkansas, and I'm telling them how to fill out the paperwork. So it's like, that's why I say this so much, because it's not super complicated, but it is kind of tedious, annoying, hard work. It's kind of like doing your taxes, right? That's not fun. But if you do your taxes once, you could do them like 9 or 10 times and it'd be easier because now you know what you just did. That's what getting these candidates to run is like. You're doing some paperwork, you're figuring out the rules, And once they're on the ballot and they've filed their campaign finance reports, then you run for office the same way as a Republican or Democrat. You just go out there and start reaching out to folks. It's hard to convince a whole lot of people to vote for you, but if it's a race where we're naturally going to do well, your job is to convert more people to vote for you than would have otherwise. And that's how we win some of these local races. And then your other job is to just get a higher percentage for each time you run for something like Congress. That's the goal. Keep it realistic.
When we ran last cycle here for city council, we actually had 3 of us that ran at the same time. Just it kind of worked out that way. And we all kind of did it in such a way that says our goal in this is, okay, even if we don't win, let's move liberty forward. Let's let people start hearing what libertarianism is. And then also the goal was that we'll take some hits. So whoever comes behind us may not have to take all of those hits. You know what I'm saying? So we can kind of start advancing past what would be the preliminary type of things. Like we get further into our beliefs rather than have to explain the party. Now, real quick, if you can, Marcus, can you bring up Ken's question? It was the lengthy one. So the hardest part of running as a libertarian, other than ballot access laws, is media blackouts of our candidates. What's the best way to get any new coverage, much less positive media coverage?
So media coverage is, first of all, I'll say, I feel like the Texas media has been pretty fair to us. They haven't distorted our policies and they haven't really made fun of us. And I don't think they do. I think they're pretty fair around the country. Media coverage is important if you're going to run for governor or president and try and win. But if you're running for state representative or like a county or local office or a city district, media coverage is not how you win the election. You win the election by knocking on the most doors and by reaching out directly, by sending postcards and mail and texting and other stuff. So media outreach is good for building a party and explaining our concepts and, getting publicity overall. So like if the candidate's running for governor and they get a lot of good media coverage, that's great. It's not going to win him the elections unless he's getting like tons and tons, unless he's a famous guy getting tons of media coverage. So, yeah.
Let's take that and now take that same premise, the same question basically, and get rid of the candidate aspect and make it about the party as a whole, because you want to run for LSC chair. So, okay, so how would you then say, hey, we do need the party does need to be known. They do need to take. So how would you then, or what would you then do in order to kind of get the word out there about the party, not necessarily candidates?
Yeah, when an issue comes up, like, I don't know, Trump invades Iran, we put out the statement, hey, we're against this. And look how the Democrats are not really against this. We have to point out how we're different than the Republicans and Democrats. When we do that, the media sometimes reaches out to us and invites us on shows. I've been on plenty in the past, not near as much as I'd like. And we've had chairmen and state activists in the media and on television, in print, and in other places. It's kind of like recruiting candidates. If you focus on it, you can make more of it happen. And it's a formula. How do I get press coverage? Well, you send stuff out to the media and you follow up and say, hey, did you get my press release or did you get my op-ed? And you just spend time doing it. So it's not a secret how to do it. But it does take someone spending time making that their priority.
All right. So I'm going to Kamala Harris you real quick. All right.
So, I'm about to mute you. That's gross. I don't know what connotation.
You don't even know where that goes after that, do you? What does that even mean? Remember when she went on the View, when she went on the View, and they asked her, "Hey, of Joe Biden's policies, what would you change?" She's like, "I wouldn't change anything." So let me kind of throw that similar to you. So looking at the party and where it sits right now, if you would, and you have to take real long, it's up to you. If you could say, hey, listen, here is one thing that I like that we're doing. Like, okay, we talk about Steven. Steven's leading the party now. He's not running again. So if you could say, hey, I really like maybe this one thing that Steven or the party is doing. And then there's this one other thing that I kind of go, listen, I think maybe they're not failing, but maybe they need to do it better. So if you can find a like and a dislike of what's currently happening at the leadership of the party.
I think the current leadership is pretty good that we have at the National Libertarian Party right now. They are doing a pretty good job of staying centered between the left and the right. If you start sounding like you're too much of a Republican or too much of a Democrat, for one thing, it makes the other side angry. The libertarians on the other side, it makes them angry. But the other thing it does is it convinces the other side, if I want to sound too much like a Republican or that I like Trump or something, I kind of convince all my libertarian folks on the right to go ahead and vote Republican or vote Trump. And that's what they did a bad job of in recent years, cozying up too much to the Republicans and Trump. We should not ever do that. We shouldn't cozy up to the Democrats and the left either. We need to say, no, we're distinct. We're separate from both. They both have so many bad ideas and so many bad policies. And maybe sometimes one's slightly better than the other, and then next time the other one's slightly better. Well, that's not good enough. We need to be way better, and we need to consistently build a big movement separate from those other two parties so that we're big enough to influence the entire public debate and policies.
So if you win and your first term is up, what's success look like? What did you accomplish? What's different? What's better? And if you've done that, which I think you've already kind of mentioned, that if everything's good, you'll dip. Hey, I don't need to do this again. Like you're saying, you kind of want to right the ship. So after that time, what would you consider? Hey, yes, I think I did well if these couple of things fall into place.
There's some internal party issues that all the listeners out there aren't going to be totally interested in, but it's simply fundraising and having things like the website and our internal database functioning properly. Those need to be fixed, and I want to make sure those are operating well. The next, and of course, all of those things help with fundraising. So I want to see fundraising that the party's doing do better. I also want it to be clear where libertarians stand in the public's mind and in the Libertarian Party membership's mind. I want them to be aware that we are distinctly in the middle between Republicans and Democrats, of course, up high for liberty on everything. I want that to be clear. We are not for Trump over the Democrat or for the Democrat over the Trump. We're like, whatever, we're here, we're libertarians. And then the other thing is I want to see more candidates running for office and more candidates getting elected. Those are the measures. So, if you're just going to measure it as an outsider, it's going to be fundraising and the number of candidates. But if you're an insider, or I guess an outsider too, it's a harder thing to measure, but is our reputation in line with we are libertarians and dedicated libertarians, not one of the other two.
Awesome. So as we start to wrap this up, do you have, as far as how people can get in contact with you, your websites? I posted the Libertarian Booster Pack link, but hold on, my bad. That wasn't it.
Hi. That's just a text message to you.
Yeah.
That's your wife texting you from the house saying, come out of the garage, let's go.
Sure. Yeah, so we have the Libertarian Booster Pack, which I think, when I met you in California, that's the first time I heard of a Libertarian pack. And I was like, that's freaking awesome, because, that's one of the tools that duopoly uses to influence elections. And if we could use the Libertarian Booster Pack to get candidates the resources to put their name out there and really show the difference between libertarians and the uniparty, I think that is one of the most phenomenal concepts, because one thing we like to do on this podcast is fundraise for our candidates. And that's one of our main goals and focuses, because we need to get that out there. And we always say, put your money where your memes are. And, next week we're going to try to fundraise for this one candidate from Florida. I'm not looking forward to it whatsoever.
None of us are.
He's a weird guy. His name is Tub, Florida man.
Yeah,
Everybody's trying to put next week off. All of us are.
Can I say something? Can I say something about PACs real quick? I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
I think you should think of a political action committee as kind of the free market in political activism. Some people think, oh, my county party or my state party won't do this thing that I think we need to do. And what a PAC is that's individuals who want to work on something that agree with each other, and they raise their own money and they spend their own money on it. And you don't need approval from the party to do it. So libertarians in Florida who don't like what the Libertarian Party of Florida is doing can start their own little political action committee, a PAC in Florida, and they can do exactly what they want. The PAC is what, it's an organization, and it's where you also have to file campaign finance reports so that you're legally doing political work. You can form PACs all over the country. They can focus on one county. They can focus on one state. They can focus on the whole country, and you can work on what you want to do. So I'm just plugging all PACs, and that's why I started mine. I wanted to do things my way.
Good word. We have a question right here. In y'all's opinion, where would Mama Joe, Dr. Joe Jorgensen, stack up these days? Tub, that question's to you too. But Wes, to you first.
I think she did a good job when she ran for president. She recently issued a book. I meant to write a second book, and I it's still on my meant to do list. So I'll give her credit for getting a book out there. I don't know a whole lot what she's up to. I can't say how she stacks up or whatever, but I appreciate everyone who takes 6 months or a year, focuses on running for office and helps to build a party. And I think that's her second time doing it. She ran 30 years ago as well.
Tub?
I feel like I should not answer this one. I feel like I'm too close. Like I'm too close to this one.
Okay, that's all good.
Here's the thing. I think that if we're talking about like if she ran today type of thing, because the one thing that she did seem to do well was like, hey, it's kind of even what Wes was talking about. Hey, we're libertarians. We're not this and that. We're our own thing over here. And so I think that was well. And I think her and Spike did that well. Like, hey, in fact, Spike trolled me with that one time. I'd made a comment and I talked to him like, dude, I know what you were doing. You were trolling me on that. And he did. And it's the, hey, we're not, Republicans and a mixed mash of Democrats, so I would say that she did that part well. But listen, we could take any of our past candidates and throw them into the mix now, and it might not play out well because because libertarians are pretty critical and we tend to find the wrong. And so it becomes very easy for us to just keep tearing them apart as opposed to saying, hey, how do we fix and move forward? Which honestly, Wes, I guess if you were chair, that could fall under some of your purview of, hey, guys, can we please just not focus? We're having a bad enough time getting people to listen to us when we keep pointing out to people outside the party, hey, don't vote for us because we're horrible people and we do things all wrong. Like my wife's a Republican. She won't come into the Libertarian Party, not because of our beliefs, but because of the way we argue and fight all the time.
Yeah, we don't need to amplify the negative things about ourselves.
Yeah.
But and when you recognize that Republicans and Democrats do that about themselves all the time too, it kind of takes the edge off, and you're kind of like, yeah, it's okay if we say some stupid things here and there. I tell you what, the candidates who have won their races, the libertarians who have won, I mean, if you talk to them, you'll be like, oh my God, how did that person win? But, because they'll say all kind of stupid things. But you'll see the same thing with Republicans and Democrats in office. You go meet with some of them or follow them closely. It's like, oh my God, they say stupid stuff all the time. We need to get over worrying that a libertarian might say something stupid. I mean, we don't want to do it on purpose all the time, but also don't worry about it. I mean, I know all of you out there, none of you can be as great as me, but I'm willing to be friends with you anyway. You can be on my team in the Libertarian Party, and then I'm not going to jump down your throat or hit you over the head if you make a mistake. I'm going to tell you, hey, don't worry about it. Get back up, and whoever's complaining, I'm going to make sure they better stand up and run for office, or sit down and shut up.
Yeah, because of the way you just said that right there. So here's what happens. So I tell people who visit our church, okay, and I tell everybody, I say, if you go to our church, whatever church you go to, I say, give them 4 weeks. And here's what I always say. I say, listen, week 1, they're going to play a song or something you didn't like. Week 2, when I talk about me specific, I say, week 2, I'm going to say something stupid. Like and you're going to be like, did he really just say that? Yeah, he did. And I said, week 3, somebody didn't say hi to you the way that they should. But by week 4, you really get an idea of what that church is like. And it's very similar. As crazy as that sounds, it's similar to what you're saying. Yeah, of course we're going to say something stupid. But you know what? Can we take all of the things instead of just focusing on the thing that we did wrong?
Yeah.
And that's internal, because we're far better at being critics than we are encouragers. Yeah.
And, if you go take some lessons from church, almost all the churches say, hey, it doesn't matter who you are. You can go out and advocate if you're a Christian for Christianity. If you're a Muslim, you are obligated to go work and promote the Muslim religion or Islam, whatever. That's something they say at my church all the time. They say the fact that you're not great, that's no excuse to sit there and do nothing. You need to get out and do the best you can. Every religion is that way, and the political parties the Libertarian Party needs to be more that way. Because I know I'm not a great person, a great spokesman. I'm not the perfect person at all. It's just like everyone else is worse. And so I'm going to step up and do what I can until we get some better people. But I'm not going to stop and just quit because I'm not perfect. That doesn't work. Working and being imperfect always works.
But
that's how I feel about being the host. The host on this podcast. They are completely imperfect, and I have to struggle and lift these brothers up on my back to bring an hour a week. Takes a year out of my life every time. And because I have to carry this whole. We got my homegirl Amity, who's going to be a guest April 2nd.
Amity, I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
Marcus, it's tough. It's tough, isn't it, Marcus? You and me can probably understand this, and but yeah, it's tough.
If you two are the standard, I'm out. I don't want. Listen, y'all can have it all. Best of luck to you. All right, so Wes, we thank you for coming on. Obviously. And so if you want to, like Marcus said, let us know wherever, like right now, tell everybody where they can reach out to you, how they find you, and kind of give a couple minutes, minute and a half of saying, hey, here's why you are the best person for the LNC chair.
Thank you. My name is Wes Benedict. I spend way too much time on Facebook. So if you want to find me, you can just search for Wes Benedict on Facebook. There's a few others out there, but I'm by far the best Wes Benedict that there's ever been. I do have a website, libertarianboosterpack.org, where there's information about some of the projects that I do and helping candidates. But I've been a libertarian activist for over 20 years. I served as the national executive director of the Libertarian Party for 8 years. And I know a lot of people have spent a lot of time giving money and running for office because they care about libertarian principles. They want smaller government. They see the Republicans and Democrats both making things worse, and they want to try and make a difference. Sometimes they get elected and make a difference, and sometimes they don't get elected, but still put pressure on the other politicians and help to advocate to the public to change public opinion on issues. So I've been concerned that the Libertarian Party has been a little weak in the last few years, and I know that I can make it run a lot better, and I would appreciate it if people are supporting me, if they come back and start running for office, serve as a state chair, serve as a county chair, do whatever you can to help make a difference and help build the Libertarian Party and movement up. The country needs you, the world needs us, and I need you. And so again, my name's Wes Benedict. I'm running for chair of the National Libertarian Party, and I'd appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. So with that being said, we want to say thank you to Wes. Hold on, let me cue up all your special effects and all that stuff. We want to say
you got special effects for him?
Yeah,
I want to go first. I want special effects.
Hero, I got a special effect for you.
You watch it. Are you really gonna? Are you gonna out him? You gonna take him
No,
out?
that was for you.
Was that for me?
What?
Okay.
No, for Tub.
That was for Tub.
Yeah.
What did I see? I don't even pay attention to you. What did you do?
All right, here you go. You can't hear that?
I knew that
No.
wasn't for me.
Oh.
No, I can't even hear it. Great job. Great job.
What-
We need a producer on this show.
You're old enough to remember the Gong Show, Tub. You know, you're probably in your 20s.
I still can't hear. I hear you talking about the. Actually, I kind of remember the Gong Show, but you would know it better than I do.
Yeah, you're all right.
All right. Listen, you said you had a fix for Wes. You don't let the poor guy leave.
No, Wes, I want to thank you very much.
All right,
No,
Wes,
not yet.
in.
Not yet. I want to thank you very much for coming on. We truly appreciate what you have done for the party because, you know, we understand a lot of this stuff is non-monetary and it takes a great deal of time. And it's people like you that do things for the right reasons. Like we said in the beginning, we're not going to officially endorse anybody for LNC chair, but we do appreciate you coming on and we are extending invites to everybody else running. I would encourage everybody to look into their candidate, you know, because I love Steven. I think he did a good job, especially I'm not comparing him to the lady before him because I don't have nice things to say and that's low-hanging fruit for me. But Steven, he righted the ship and now it's time to go full bore. It's time to push down the throttle and get the Libertarian Party moving back to the days where we got 4 million plus votes for president of the United States. And that's what we need. And I'm hoping whoever gets into this position understands that fact. You sound like you have a good, solid grasp of the subject matter. So we wish you the best. Tub, do you have anything to say to Wes before we let him go?
No, he's heard enough from me.
All right.
He don't need to hit any more of this mess.
With that being said,
Thanks,
we want to thank you, Wes, very much. And we look forward to talking to you again. So everybody say goodbye to Wes and thank him very much. So
Thank you.
All righty. We'll see you. So this is the closing segment. This is our first night of doing this where it's just going to be us closing this out. What do you got to say, Tub?
Why do you sound like that? Through the whole
Sound
last
like
2
what?
minutes. Like
What?
you sound like you remember the synthesizers they used to use in the 80s? That's what you sound like right now.
Am I like
So,
Beverly Hills Cop or something?
Did your wife cut off the Wi-Fi out in the garage?
Nah, we're still good. I'm
Okay. All right,
I'm
so
already
look.
in the doghouse. Yeah.
Right there. All right. So I'm actually now I don't follow a whole lot of people on Facebook. So I'm gonna go follow Wes right now, which I think others should probably do. Following him is not an endorsement of him. It's keeping up with what he has to say. Now, I would like to add something though. So I know that as a show, we are not endorsing anybody for LNC chair, but we do have the right, don't we, as individuals, to endorse whoever we want. Like you're not putting a gag order on us, right? As the leader of the show.
Whatever you do, I'm a libertarian. I'm the only real libertarian to put it like that. So whatever you do on your personal page, that's perfectly fine. I give you permission to do what you want to do.
So I can put, hey, everybody block Marcus Matthews. Everybody unfriend Marcus Matthews. Everybody send pizzas to Marcus Matthews. Like I can do those things and it doesn't make any difference. Like I can openly speak against you.
No, you cannot because I am the overlord of the Libertarian Party and I will see fit to have you excommunicated from the Libertarian Party. So
just wait. They'll do it on their own.
So I just want to promo our show next week. We have a great guest coming on. He is a 2 or 3-time candidate?
Well, it's 2 for city council. Remember, I was on the ballot for lieutenant governor with Hector, but that wasn't a whole lot of running inside of that one. Like,
right.
Even when I was when he called me to come on with him when we talked about it. I told him, I said, hey, listen, my focus, like I was honest. I said, my focus during all of this is my city council run. because that's the one that I'd already been focusing on and already been engaged in. So I was like, hey, this is going to be my focus. So this will be my second time, but it's a different run because, which I can explain all this next week also. But last time was at large. It was a whole citywide, whereas this one's just in my district.
Right. So we have Tub for 10 coming on next week, and I'm very excited about that. Tub is actually going to be one of our guests. His, that was his origin story. He was a guest. I was semi-impressed with him, and, I was working on my DEI program, and I couldn't think of a better candidate to bring on. Because Tubbs is a DEI candidate.
I was working on my DEI outreach, and there you were.
Yeah, but I got to be honest. I'm more excited about April 2nd. We have my homegirl that I had a chance to slap hands with, and my good friend Free in California.
You fought with her?
Slap hands, man. That's because you don't know the lingo.
Slap boxing?
Oh, slap boxing. We didn't slap box. Because I think she would have took me out. Free wouldn't have been no problem. I could have slap boxed him with my pinky fingers just out like that. But Amity, she might have been a little squirrel monkey. What do you call those?
Squirrely. She's a little more squirrely. She's gonna get you.
Yeah, she's coming on April 2nd. We're excited about that. And like I said, we're reaching out to the other candidates for the LNC chair to come on and say their piece and whatnot. So if oh wow, apparently Amity blocked me too, because Free blocked me because of you, and now Amity apparently blocked me because of you.
Here's the thing.
I see with this Florida stuff going on here.
They wanted to block you, but they just felt like there was like, hey, am I being racist if I do? Am I being anti-libertarian if I do? And they finally realized, hey, wait a minute, I just gave everybody the permission to say, hey, treat Marcus the way he deserves to be treated, and in turn, they went and blocked you. It all makes sense.
All right, that's a whole lot of horse plop right there. And with that being said, Tub,
that's a good time to leave. That's a good time to dip out.
You have a closing statement before I just basically remove you from.
Let's put this dumpster fire out. All right, let's just be done with this.
All right,
Marcus, it is always a pleasure to see you, brother. I know we joke and we mess around a lot, but
I love you.
You're all right sometimes.
I love you. Hold on, one last comment, unless Amity chimes in. I only take orders from people named after bathroom fixtures. Tub. Wow. You Florida men stick together.
Listen, we are surrounding the wagons. We are circling up the wagons now. And we're circling up against you. Just against you. Not against it, just you.
I thought it was, together you guys could get a monopoly on the meth market down there in Florida. But with that being said, this has been the Black Powder Podcast, the only real libertarian podcast that has ever existed. We want to thank everybody who listened, watched, and whatever. You know what? Go to the libertarianboosterpack.org and look at their information. If you could give a few bucks, we greatly appreciate it as normal. But I want to thank everybody, especially my guy Tub. Eric couldn't make it tonight. He had a family engagement. So, we look forward to him coming back on next week. With that being said, you know what this is. As we always say when we end the podcast, live free
or die.
This is the Black Powder Podcast, coming at you live and direct.
Your salty tears season my life. It's the Black Powder Podcast.